Cordwood buildings. This is Al Fritsch at earthhealing.info. We're going to talk to you about, well, in the background you will see the first Cordwood building here in the Appalachian region, but they are actually located in various parts of the world. In fact, the first instance we saw of it was at the Vancouver Conference on the Human Habitat in 1976. And they had a display of what was occurring in Saskatchewan province in Canada, and that was a cordwood building. And it was when temperatures got very low, way below zero, still was a very snug building. When temperatures got warm in summertime, it was a very moderate and cool building. And so therefore moderation, that's the first of the advantages of a cordwood building, but there are others. The second advantage is that it can be constructed very easily. I built the one that's in the background here. All of the walls I put up myself with no one else around. You can't build a log building that way without other support when they're long logs and they're very heavy. But this way of cutting wood in such a way that it's cord wood and stacking it in some fashion like you would for firewood, that this cordwood building can be built by an individual, man or woman, with a moderate amount of energy in their own systems to do it. And it has been, and its example is, it does. The third reason is that easy access to building materials. If you're going to make it out of brick or concrete block or something else, you'll have to go at a great distance and get it. These logs that were cut into cord, these were from an area only a mile away. There was no transportation cost. It was there, able to be used, cured, debarked, and was used there in building this building. The fourth reason is its low processing cost. There's really nothing that has to be done except to use a chainsaw and cut them into a certain amount of length and then allowing them to dry. There is really, it's not like taking a wood or brick and having to process it in a log in many ways. It's low cost as a building material. The fifth reason is that it's beautiful. Actually, if you look at it in a certain sense, you've got a beautiful building. It has grace to it, good charm. It's something that could be able to adorn countryside, not something that is unique and breaking the pattern. It actually fits in very well with a wooded area. The sixth reason is that it's a safety factor. Now the roof there could be burned because it has an asphalt tile to it, but many of the roofs could be metal, and if so, the building itself won't burn, even in a forest fire or something. People don't think of this, but this building does not need the fire insurance that is required for other constructions that are in California, Oregon, and Washington, and where they have the major fires each year. This could be built and, well, could withstand a lot of fire. There is another reason that only is available if you're actually living in the building itself, and it was built to be a living space, though we used it for office for a long period of time. And that while it was being used as living space, it's a good feeling. Now, some buildings have a very hostile-like or distant, or you feel claustrophobia. You don't do that in that building. You feel like you're part of the countryside. And I don't know how to explain it, but, well, wood has that way to start with, but this type of wood, which was very processed only for insofar as being cut into cords, this has a original look to it. You feel closer to nature, even though you have a good roof over your head. The eighth reason is that it actually blends with the countryside itself. Now, a lot of buildings have been built into wooded areas, including some within a mile of here, and you feel like they've been stuck in there. This building has not so much been stuck in there, but it's really just part of the countryside. This means a lot. It means a lot to the people who live in it. It means a lot to others who come by and see it. It is not contaminating. It is part of the countryside. And the ninth reason is it doesn't take chemicals to hold it together. Actually, that is, you would have a lot of buildings are not really organic in the sense of having no commercial chemicals. They have plenty of them in them. This takes some natural products, and we have to admit that wood-bees love this. Those are the different little bugs that like to come in and hibernate in the cordwood. But you can also stop them by using turpentine and linseed oil, both of which are very natural products. And you can actually put and paint this on about once every 3 years. So while it has the disadvantages of the little critters like to come and be part of the cordwood building, you can also remove them from it with ease and without using commercial chemicals to do it with. All of these have been advantages that we have for having a cordwood building. The simple fact is it's countercultural. It's not something that people normally see in the countryside. And many people like to build a building that's just like what their neighbors got, or something that they can put in a picture and show another as being similar to one of these high-standing buildings that those others like and impressed by. It is different, but it is something that's day has come. We should think more of this, especially after thousands of buildings were burnt this past fall and winter there at the terrible fires in southern and in northern California. Therefore, we lose buildings that are not adapt to the neighbors, to the forested areas. This one is, and it's something that could be built and used, and it could be very safe in the process. An aside is that this building itself has a door which my father built about 4 decades ago as he was trying to construct the cabin in which Abe Lincoln lived. And so he gave us the door, and we do have on this door an expression that is only found probably here and a very few other places in Kentucky. And that is the invitation. Is the latch out? If the latch is out, that means that it's not available for the person to open it. Then the latch being out means that you can actually come in. If the latch is in, it means that you can't be inside and have anyone else come in because the lock itself is composed of the latch. So it's an expression, the latch is out, has a meaning only on this building, not on many more. We are now inside the building and looking at the wall. As we can see, it looks the same way on the inside as it did on the outside. We can talk about those. These are 16 inches pieces of cordwood, and they are stacked in such a way that they are wrapped with, on the inside portion, with insulation. And therefore, there's a 6-inch insulation period between that outer wall and the inner wall. And then there is a cement that goes, the same type, on both sides, and that is made with regular cement with sawdust as a half and half mixture. And they hold up very well because they can contract and expand with the season of the year. And so therefore, we can see that this wall holds together. It's not a load-bearing wall. There are some poles here that hold the ceiling up. It is a partial load-bearing, in that part of it does seem to be holding up by the logs themselves. This is 35 years old when we're speaking right here, and it's held up extremely well through those 3.5 decades of time. Another example of a storage building that was built with cordwood, but now we want to say for a moment that our building that we showed in the first place, which we had shown, that was a white oak building, the logs. here the cordwood is pine, and this has been here for 25 years. It's held up very well. Different types of wood can be used. It's not just necessarily one. And so there's a great variety of possibility in any forested area that you can use various woods for making cordwood buildings. This is another example of the cordwood building. It was actually a mobile home, which wasn't worth that much, but by putting an outside on it, which was a cordwood siding, it has increased the value of the place very much, and it's been made into a usable house for a number of decades. And so it's one way of using cordwood and also constructing cordwood buildings. One added point, and that is that we do not know what would happen if we had another New Madrid earthquake, which would be an enormous thing that could shake the grounds. Most likely cordwood would not hold up that well, but if it were supported, as this one is, and also to some degree the one that we have shown at the beginning, that it could hold up at least enough that people could get out. But cordwood probably will not be as stable as other forms of construction as far as major earthquakes, but then we don't expect them except for once every 200 years. But anyway, we've shown you the good parts, and it's not a perfect world, and also some of the other aspects of a cordwood building. It is an area of construction that should be in the world in which we live, and especially in a world that has a lot of wildfires. Think about it. This is an opportunity for us to promote something that really doesn't get that much promotion now, and it's a great place and a good time to do it. Thank you.